The aftermath of the final battle was nothing short of astonishing. Earth had fought valiantly, and against all odds, humanity had managed to push back the mighty Galactic Empire. The skies, once darkened by the shadows of enemy warships, were now clear, the sun shining over a planet that had, just days ago, seemed doomed. But while Earth celebrated its hard-won victory, the war was far from over. The Empire, humiliated and defeated, had to make a decision. Either retreat or send a final, deadly message to the humans who had dared defy them. In the command center, Marcus stood with Arlen, his mind racing. The battle had ended, but the cost had been high. Cities were in ruins and millions of lives had been lost. But the victory meant that Earth would survive, and that was something no one had ever truly believed was possible. As Marcus looked at the reports, he saw a disturbing pattern. The Empire was regrouping. Despite the damage to their fleet, they still had resources in other parts of the galaxy, and they were not known for giving up easily. Earth might have won this battle, but the war was far from finished. Arlen stepped forward, his face grim. "Marcus, there's something you need to understand. The Empire doesn't know how to lose. They will send another fleet. They will not stop until they get what they want." Marcus's eyes narrowed. "We've beaten them once. We can do it again." Arlen shook his head. "It's not that simple. The Empire's pride is too strong. If they are allowed to rebuild, they will come back stronger than before. You need to strike now while they are still weak." The urgency in Arlen's voice was clear. Marcus turned to his team, making a quick decision. "We can't afford to wait. Earth's forces are stronger now. We need to go on the offensive. We have to finish this." The next few days were filled with frantic planning. Earth's military was regrouping, and with Arlen's help, they began to prepare for a final strike against the remnants of the Empire's fleet. The enemy had scattered across various parts of the galaxy, but Earth's new technologies and battle strategies would give them the edge. With every passing hour, the tension mounted. Earth's forces launched a series of coordinated strikes against the Empire's remaining strongholds, targeting key systems and weakening their control over the galaxy. The Empire's once imposing presence was now crumbling, with their fleet scattered and their influence waning. On the battlefield, Earth's forces pushed forward, determined to bring an end to the war once and for all. Marcus led the charge, his resolve stronger than ever. Arlen, though an outsider in this conflict, fought alongside the humans, his knowledge of the Empire's weaknesses proving invaluable. But even as victory seemed certain, the Empire's leaders made one last, desperate attempt to regain control. They deployed their final weapon, a superweapon capable of wiping out entire planets. It was a last-ditch effort to strike fear into the hearts of Earth's forces and to take down humanity once and for all. However, Earth was ready. Using the knowledge Arlen had provided and their own advancements, humanity was able to disable the superweapon before it could be activated. The Empire's final blow had failed. With the superweapon disabled and the remnants of the Empire's forces in retreat, Earth's forces secured their victory. The Empire had collapsed. Earth was free. As the dust settled, Marcus and Arlen stood side by side, watching the stars above. The war had been long and painful, but Earth had emerged victorious. Marcus knew that this battle would go down in history as a turning point, not just for Earth, but for the galaxy. The victory was sweet, but Marcus knew this was only the beginning. Earth had proven its strength, and the galaxy would now know that humanity would never back down from a fight. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Earth had earned its place in the stars. The war was over. The Galactic Empire, once the most powerful force in the galaxy, had been brought to its knees. Earth had fought back with everything they had, and they had won. The surviving ships of the Empire retreated into the distant corners of space, leaving behind a broken and defeated empire. Earth had emerged victorious, but the cost was high. The planet had been forever changed. Marcus stood at the top of a ruined skyscraper in what was once a thriving city. The skyline was now a mix of destruction and rebuilding. There were no more Empire warships hanging in the sky, no more explosions lighting up the night. For the first time in months there was silence, but it wasn't a peaceful silence. It was the kind of silence that came after a storm had passed, a silence full of both relief and sorrow. Humanity had lost much in the war, cities were in ruins, and millions of people had died. The scars of the conflict would never truly fade. Yet there was hope. Earth was still standing. Humanity had fought for their survival, and now they could rebuild. They could rise from the ashes. Arlen stood beside Marcus, his gaze focused on the horizon. The alien had been with Earth every step of the way, helping them fight the Empire. His knowledge had been crucial, and he had become more than just an ally. He had become a friend. "We did it," Marcus said quietly, looking at the desolate landscape. Arlen nodded. "But the cost was high. The galaxy is not the same anymore." Marcus turned to him. "No, it's not. But we are. Humanity has proven that we won't just lie down and die. We can fight and we can win." There was a long pause as both men reflected on the journey that had brought them here. The war had been brutal, and the stakes had been higher than anyone could have imagined. But they had succeeded. Earth was free, and for the first time in history, humanity had earned the respect of the galaxy. As they watched the workers in the distance begin to clear the debris and rebuild, Marcus felt a sense of pride he hadn't felt before. The battle was over, but the real work was just beginning. Humanity had to rebuild its world, its cities, its lives. But now they had something they had never had before: hope. "Do you think the Empire will ever return?" Marcus asked, looking at Arlan. Arlan was quiet for a moment before replying. "The Empire may be gone, but there will always be other threats. There will always be people who want to take what isn't theirs. But I believe in humanity. You proved that you can face the impossible and win. That's something no one can take away from you." Marcus nodded. He knew Arlen was right. The galaxy was vast, and there would always be challenges. But humanity had shown its true strength. Earth had united, fought, and prevailed. There was no going back. The future was uncertain, but it was theirs to shape. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the ruins, Marcus took a deep breath. He knew the world would never be the same, but he was ready for whatever came next. Earth had proven that it could survive anything. And now, with the support of the galaxy's new allies, humanity would rise stronger than ever before. The dawn of a new era had begun, and Earth would never be the same again. Omini in the far reaches of the galaxy, the Yulani system had once been a peaceful world, known for its beautiful landscapes and thriving cities. But that peace was shattered when the Kaldor, a ruthless and war-hungry species, arrived without warning. They were known for their brutal tactics and unyielding hunger for power. Their invasion was swift and merciless. The Kaldor began by attacking the outer colonies, wiping out entire populations without a second thought. No one had expected them to come this far, and soon the Yulani people found themselves under attack. Their cities were leveled, their fleets destroyed, and their once safe world became a war zone. Desperation spread through the people as they watched their homes burn. The leaders of the galaxy, the Central Coalition, watched from a distance. They were slow to respond, hesitant to get involved in yet another war. The Yulani people sent out desperate calls for help, but the responses they received were cold and empty. The Kaldor were a feared enemy, and most believed they were unstoppable. No one seemed willing to risk everything to fight them off. But there was one hope left: the Earth Federation. For years, stories had spread throughout the galaxy about the warriors from Earth. Some called them legends, others dismissed them as myths. But the Yulani knew they had to try. They sent one final plea to Earth, begging for help, knowing it was their only chance. On Earth, a decision was made. The leaders of the Earth Federation were quiet but resolute. General Kale, a seasoned commander, knew the time had come. The Terran Legion, Earth's most elite and feared warriors, would answer the call. For years they had trained in secrecy, preparing for a day like this when the galaxy would need them most. General Kale stood before his warriors, his voice firm and unwavering. The Kaldor think they can break us. They think we will cower in fear. But we are Earth's warriors, and we will not let this galaxy fall. We walk through fire and we do not stop. His words resonated with the warriors. They were not just soldiers. They were the last line of defense for the Yulani people and the rest of the galaxy. Their mission was clear. They would go to Yulani, face the Kaldor, and show the universe that Earth would never back down. Mini. The Terran fleet arrived in the Yulani system like a storm breaking through the night. It was a sight the Kaldor never expected. Their ships, huge and powerful, loomed over the planet, casting dark shadows. The Kaldor had thought that no one would dare challenge them, but Earth's warriors had come to prove them wrong. General Kale's voice crackled over the comms, giving the order for the first strike. Move out. Show them who we are. The Terran fleet moved in perfect formation, a well-coordinated unit that moved as one. Each ship was designed for speed and precision, cutting through the vacuum of space with ease. The Kaldor, caught off guard by the sudden appearance of Earth's fleet, scrambled to respond. Their ships, while powerful, were not prepared for the tactics Earth's warriors would use. On the surface of Yulani, the Kaldor's ground forces had already begun to march forward, their massive war machines crushing everything in their path. They believed nothing could stop them, not even the galaxy's most powerful defense fleet. But they didn't realize that Earth's warriors had prepared for this exact moment. The first wave of Earth's ground forces deployed as soon as the fleet arrived. The Terran soldiers dropped down onto the planet's surface like lightning, their boots hitting the ground with a heavy thud. The Kaldor forces on the ground turned to face them, but it was too late. The Terran Legion, trained for every kind of combat, moved with speed and precision. They didn't hesitate. They didn't show fear. Earth's warriors fought with the fire of those who had everything to protect. They cut through the Kaldor lines using advanced weapons and tactics that the Kaldor had never seen. The Kaldor, who had been invincible for so long, were now facing an enemy unlike any other. Each Earth soldier was like a storm, unstoppable and relentless. General Kale stood on his flagship, watching as his soldiers fought below. His mind was sharp, calculating every move. He had known the battle would be hard, but he also knew the Kaldor had underestimated humanity. Earth's warriors weren't just skilled, they were resourceful, using every advantage they had to strike at the heart of the Kaldor's power. The battle raged for hours, the skies over Yulani filled with the sounds of explosions and laser fire. The Kaldor had powerful weapons, but they were no match for the strategy and determination of Earth's warriors. One by one, their war machines fell, their defenses crumbling under the relentless assault. And yet, despite the growing signs of defeat, the Kaldor refused to give up. They had been taught to fight until the very end, to never show weakness. But the cracks in their armor were starting to show. The mighty Kaldor were beginning to realize that Earth's warriors were not just another enemy. They were something new, something the Kaldor had never faced before. As the first strike ended, General Kale gave the order to regroup. "This is just the beginning," he said quietly. "We've shown them that we will not back down. Now let's finish this." Earth's warriors had made their mark on the Yulani system. The Kaldor thought they could crush everything in their path, but they had just learned a powerful lesson. They had underestimated humanity. The battle had only just begun, but already, the Kaldor were struggling to hold their ground. Earth's warriors had taken the initiative, pushing forward relentlessly, leaving the Kaldor forces scrambling to adapt. They had never expected such an aggressive response from Earth. General Kale knew that this was just the opening move. While the Kaldor regrouped and tried to retaliate, Kale had a backup plan, a secret weapon that would give Earth's forces the edge they needed. His soldiers were ready for anything, but the Kaldor hadn't seen this coming. They didn't know what Earth's warriors were truly capable of. For years, Earth had been preparing for situations like this. They knew that simply matching the Kaldor's strength and firepower would not be enough. They needed something more, something that would turn the tide in their favor. That something was the Terran Legion's advanced bioengineered soldiers. These soldiers were the result of years of research and development, and they were unlike anything the Kaldor had ever faced. These bioengineered warriors were stronger, faster, and more durable than regular soldiers. They were designed to adapt to any environment, to survive where other warriors would falter. The Kaldor might have advanced technology, but they didn't have the ingenuity and the sheer determination that Earth soldiers possessed. The bioengineered soldiers were trained to fight in any climate, to survive in extreme heat, cold, and even in zero gravity. They were the perfect weapon to combat the Kaldor's superior technology. Kyle activated the second phase of the plan. The Terran fleet moved to position above Yulani's surface, blocking out the sun with their dark ships. From the ships, the bioengineered soldiers dropped into the fray. They landed with precise, calculated moves, their presence a shock to the Kaldor, who were still trying to recover from the first wave of attacks. The Kaldor had never seen anything like it. The bioengineered soldiers fought with precision, cutting through the Kaldor forces as if they were nothing more than paper. They used a combination of advanced weaponry and hand-to-hand combat techniques, each movement calculated to disable, destroy, or capture. The Kaldor, unable to adapt quickly enough, were torn apart by this unexpected force. The bioengineered soldiers didn't just fight. They showed a resilience that the Kaldor had never encountered. They fought as one, working together seamlessly, using the terrain to their advantage. The Kaldor's massive war machines, though impressive, were no match for the speed and resourcefulness of Earth's warriors. The Kaldor tried to retaliate, launching their most advanced weapons, but the bio-soldiers adapted quickly, avoiding attacks and striking back harder each time. General Kyle stood on his flagship watching the battlefield unfold below him. His soldiers were pushing forward, and the Kaldor were beginning to falter. He knew that this was their moment. The Kaldor thought they had won the war already. They believed they were unbeatable, but Earth's warriors were showing them otherwise. Kale's voice came over the comms again. "This is only the beginning. We have the advantage. Keep pressing forward. The Kaldor will break." The Kaldor, who had once believed they were unstoppable, now found themselves facing an enemy who would not be intimidated. Earth's warriors, with their advanced bioengineered soldiers, had changed the course of the battle. And the Kaldor were learning the hard way that no one could underestimate the will of humanity. This part delves deeper into Earth's secret weapon, the bioengineered soldiers, and shows how they start to turn the tide of the battle. The Kaldor, once confident in their superiority, are now beginning to realize they face an enemy they cannot easily defeat. Let me know if you'd like any changes, Omini. The battle had reached its peak, and the Kaldor forces were beginning to break under the pressure of Earth's warriors. The once mighty Kaldor war machines, which had crushed everything in their path, now lay scattered across the battlefield, torn apart by the relentless Terran Legion. Earth's warriors had proven themselves stronger, faster, and more resourceful than their enemies had ever imagined. On the surface of Yulani, General Kale and his forces pushed forward, their weapons cutting through the Kaldor's ranks like a hot knife through butter. The Kaldor had once believed they could destroy any resistance, but Earth's soldiers had shattered that illusion. Their advanced technology and relentless drive were no match for the sheer will of humanity. General, Kale's soldiers were everywhere. They had taken control of key strategic points on the planet, including the Kaldor's supply bases and communication hubs. The Kaldor, stunned by the rapid advancements of Earth's forces, were trying desperately to reorganize, but they were already on the defensive. Every attempt to mount a counterattack was met with fierce resistance. Earth's warriors fought as if they were protecting their very homes, driven by a sense of duty and determination that could not be extinguished. As the battle continued, the sky above Yulani darkened with the arrival of Earth's air support. The Terran fleet, having destroyed the Kaldor's defense network, rained down fire from above. The Kaldor tried to retaliate with their own aerial forces, but they were outmatched. Earth's pilots, skilled in both space and atmospheric combat, proved to be more than a match for the Kaldor's advanced fighters. One by one, the Kaldor ships were taken down, and the enemy's air superiority crumbled. The ground forces were not far behind. Earth's soldiers, equipped with high-tech armor and weaponry, stormed the Kaldor's remaining strongholds. The Kaldor had fortified their positions, believing that nothing could breach their defenses. But the Terran Legion was unlike anything they had ever faced. With precise teamwork and coordinated tactics, the Terran soldiers breached the enemy's lines. The Kaldor soldiers, no longer confident in their victory, faltered. They had underestimated Earth's warriors, and now they were paying the price. General Kale stood on a ridge watching the battle unfold below him. His soldiers were pushing forward, their resolve stronger than ever. The Kaldor, who had once thought they could conquer the galaxy without challenge, were now retreating. The Terran Legion had proven them wrong. The battle for Yulani was far from over, but the Kaldor had lost the initiative. They were no longer the hunters, they were the hunted. Kale's voice came over the comms, steady and calm. "This is our moment. Keep the pressure on. We will not stop until every Kaldor is driven from this world." The warriors of Earth, knowing they had the advantage, pressed forward with unyielding strength. The Kaldor, who had once thought they could crush Earth's forces, now faced a bitter truth. Earth's warriors were not like any other, and no matter how powerful they were, they could not withstand the will of humanity. The battle for Yulani had been raging for days, but the Kaldor were beginning to realize something they had not expected. Earth's warriors were relentless. Every time they thought they had gained the upper hand, the Terran Legion struck back with even more force. The once unstoppable Kaldor, who had believed themselves invincible, were now struggling to hold their ground. The Kaldor's commanders had begun to panic. They had underestimated Earth, and now they were paying the price. Their forces were fractured, their morale shattered, and their war machines were no longer as effective as they had been at the start of the invasion. They had never faced an enemy like the Terran Legion, an enemy that fought with unwavering determination and without fear. General Kale stood at the front lines, his face calm but focused. He could feel the tide turning in their favor, but he knew the Kaldor would not give up easily. They were a fierce enemy and they would fight to the bitter end. Kyle's plan was simple. Keep pressing forward. Never give the Kaldor a chance to regroup. He knew that the longer they fought, the more the Kaldor would lose confidence. The Kaldor were used to dominating their enemies, but Earth's warriors were proving to be their equal, if not their superior. Kale's voice crackled over the comms. "We have them on the run. Don't let up. Push them back until they have nowhere left to go." The Terran forces, energized by the general's words, pressed on. They pushed through the Kaldor's defenses with precision, cutting through the last remnants of the enemy's military. The Kaldor attempted to launch one final counterattack, hoping to break Earth's resolve, but it was too late. The Kaldor's most powerful war machines, their heavy tanks and dreadnoughts, were no match for the tactics of Earth's warriors. The Terran Legion used their superior mobility and strategy to outmaneuver the Kaldor's forces, turning their own weapons against them. Earth's soldiers had the advantage, not just in technology but in training and spirit. The Kaldor's attacks were predictable, their movements sluggish compared to the lightning-fast strikes of the Terran Legion. The Kaldor were fighting to maintain their dominance while the Earth soldiers were fighting for survival, for their home. On the battlefield, Kale watched as the Kaldor's resistance began to falter. Their once unified ranks were now scattered, their lines breaking as they tried to flee. The battle was no longer about fighting for territory. It was about survival. The Kaldor knew they were losing, and their once proud warriors began to retreat, hoping to escape with their lives. General Kyle took a deep breath as he saw the Kaldor forces begin to crumble. He knew the battle wasn't over, but they had reached a turning point. Earth's warriors had proven their strength and resilience. The Kaldor had come to conquer, but they had underestimated humanity's resolve. "This is just the beginning," Kale said quietly to himself. "We've broken their spirit. Now we finish this." The Terran Legion, unstoppable and united, moved forward. The Kaldor, once confident in their superiority, were now facing an enemy they could not defeat. The Kaldor forces, now in retreat, began to realize the true nature of their mistake. They had underestimated humanity. Earth's warriors fought with something more than skill and technology. They fought with an unbreakable spirit. The Kaldor had once believed they could crush any resistance, but humanity's will to survive was stronger than they could have imagined. General Kale stood in the command center of his flagship, watching the battlefield unfold below. The Kaldor were losing ground fast. Their war machines, once feared across the galaxy, were being dismantled one by Earth's warriors. The Kaldor had expected the fight to be long and drawn out, but they hadn't expected the sheer will of humanity. The soldiers of Earth weren't just fighting for victory. They were fighting for their families, their planet, and everything they had ever known. They were fighting because they had no other choice. Kyle's voice came over the comms, steady and resolute. "Keep pushing forward. Show them that Earth's warriors do not stop. They will learn the cost of underestimating us." His words were met with a roar of approval from his soldiers. The Terran Legion, unified in purpose and driven by an unshakable determination, surged forward, their weapons cutting through the Kaldor ranks. The Kaldor tried to regroup, but their forces were fractured, their lines falling apart as the Terran soldiers pushed them back. The battlefield was a chaotic scene of smoke and fire, but in the midst of it, Earth's warriors stood firm. Every soldier, whether on the ground or in the air, fought with the same relentless spirit. The Kaldor, once confident in their superiority, were now facing an enemy that would not relent. The Terran Legion fought not just with their weapons but with everything they had, their hearts and minds focused on victory. They knew that if they gave an inch, the Kaldor would take a mile. And so, they fought with everything in them. As the Kaldor retreated further, General Kale gave the order to advance. The Terran soldiers followed without hesitation, knowing the war was far from over but understanding that they had already won something far more important. They had shown the galaxy that humanity would not bow to anyone. They had proven that, even in the face of overwhelming odds, Earth's warriors would rise. On the ground, the Terran soldiers pressed forward, clearing out the last remnants of the Kaldor forces. With each step, the soldiers of Earth reclaimed their world. The Kaldor, once so sure of their victory, were now in full retreat. The power of their war machines and advanced technology had been nothing against the human spirit. As the Kaldor forces finally began to scatter, General Kale looked to the horizon. The battle for Yulani was over, but it had been a hard-fought victory. Earth's warriors had shown that they could not be defeated, not by the most advanced weapons, not by the greatest armies. They had proven that humanity was a force to be reckoned with. And as the Terran Legion regrouped and prepared for the final push, one thing was clear to Kale: this was only the beginning. Earth's warriors had shown the galaxy their strength, and the Kaldor would never forget the price of underestimating humanity. The Kaldor had finally realized the full extent of their miscalculation. Their once confident warriors, who had believed victory was inevitable, were now on the brink of collapse. The Terran Legion had broken their spirit. Earth's warriors, relentless and unyielding, had pushed the Kaldor forces to the edge of defeat. General Kale stood at the front of his command center, watching the Kaldor retreat. The sight of their broken lines filled him with a sense of quiet satisfaction. But he knew the war wasn't over yet. The Kaldor were stubborn, and they would not give up easily. However, Earth's warriors had proven they were stronger, not just in battle, but in willpower. And that was something the Kaldor could never defeat. The Kaldor commanders, once confident that their victory was within reach, were now scrambling. They had tried to regroup, but it was too late. Earth's forces had outmaneuvered them at every turn. Their war machines, once feared across the galaxy, were being destroyed by Earth's advanced tactics and superior teamwork. The Kaldor soldiers, who had fought so fiercely in the beginning, now found themselves running in fear, abandoning their posts as Earth's warriors pushed forward without mercy. On the ground, the Terran soldiers advanced through the Kaldor's remaining strongholds. The enemy's defenses, once thought to be impenetrable, crumbled under the pressure. The Kaldor's advanced weaponry, while powerful, had no answer for the precision and determination of Earth's warriors. Every Terran soldier fought with the same drive, the same unbreakable spirit. They had been tested, and now they were showing the galaxy that no one could stand against them. General Kale issued a final order to his forces. Push them back, take no prisoners. The Kaldor must know that Earth's warriors never give up. His words were met with fierce approval. The Terran Legion had proven themselves more than capable of winning battles. They had proven they were unstoppable when their backs were against the wall. The Kaldor had made a fatal error by underestimating humanity. Now they were paying the price for that mistake. As the battle continued, the Kaldor forces began to retreat in a panic. Earth's warriors, with their superior coordination and unmatched strength, had completely shattered the Kaldor's once feared army. The war was winding down, and General Kale knew that it was only a matter of time before the Kaldor were defeated completely. Their leadership was in disarray, and their troops were scattered. The Kaldor had come to conquer, but they had learned that humanity would not be crushed. They had underestimated Earth's warriors, and now they were about to face the consequences. The Terran Legion advanced further into the heart of the Kaldor's last stronghold. Their mission clear: end the war once and for all. The Kaldor had thought they were the conquerors, but now they were the ones being hunted. Earth's warriors, who had walked through fire to reach this moment, would finish what they had started. As the final pieces of the Kaldor's forces fell, General Kale stood tall. Earth's warriors had shown the galaxy that humanity could not be beaten no matter the odds. The dust was settling over the battlefield. Yulani, once a world on the brink of destruction, now stood as a testament to the resilience of its people and the unwavering spirit of Earth's warriors. The Terran Legion had emerged victorious, driving the Kaldor invaders off the planet and securing peace for the Yulani system. But the cost had been high. The planet's cities had been ravaged, its people scattered and broken. The battle was over, but the work was only beginning. General Kale stood on a high ridge overlooking the remnants of the war. The Kaldor forces had been defeated, their advanced technology shattered, and their soldiers scattered. But there was no time to rest. The Terran Legion's mission wasn't just to fight and win, it was to help rebuild, to show the galaxy that Earth's warriors were more than just soldiers. They were protectors and allies. The Yulani people, many of whom had lost everything, were beginning to gather in what was left of their cities. Earth's forces had already begun to assist them, using the advanced technology at their disposal to help repair the damage caused by the Kaldor. The soldiers of the Terran Legion were working side by side with the Yulani, sharing their expertise and resources to rebuild homes, restore power, and provide food and medical aid. The bond between the two species was beginning to form, built on the foundation of mutual respect and shared struggle. The Kaldor may have tried to conquer Yulani, but they had underestimated the power of human will. Earth's warriors had not only defeated the invaders, they had brought hope to a world that had almost lost it. The Yulani people, once on the verge of extinction, were now seeing a future that seemed impossible just days before. As Kyle walked through the streets of Yulani, he noticed the faces of the people. They were not broken, they were determined. The Kaldor had brought pain and destruction, but the Yulani were survivors. They would rebuild, and with Earth's help, they would grow stronger than ever before. The leaders of Yulani approached General Kale, grateful for the assistance his people had provided. "We can never repay you for what you've done," one of them said, his voice filled with emotion. "You've saved our world. You've saved our people. We will never forget." Kale nodded, his face stoic. "It's what we do. Earth's warriors don't just fight to win. We fight to protect, and we protect those who cannot protect themselves." The Yulani leader smiled, nodding in understanding. "You have shown us what true strength is." As the days passed, the rebuilding continued. Earth's warriors worked tirelessly, not as conquerors, but as friends and allies. They knew that the real victory was not just in the battle, but in the bond they had formed with the Yulani people. The Kaldor had tried to break them, but Earth's warriors had shown them that nothing could break the spirit of those who fought for what they loved. General Kale watched the work unfold around him. The war was over, but the mission was far from complete. There were more battles to fight, more worlds to protect. But for now, Yulani was safe, and that was enough. The victory over the Kaldor had not only changed the fate of Yulani, but had sent ripples throughout the galaxy. The Terran Legion had proven that humanity, once seen as a quiet and distant power, could rise to face any threat. The Kaldor had underestimated Earth's warriors, but now the galaxy knew better. General Kale and his soldiers had made their mark, and their actions would be remembered for generations to come. The days following the battle were filled with recovery and rebuilding, but also with reflection. General Kale stood with his team, looking at the horizon over Yulani's shattered cities. The Terran Legion had done their job. They had won the battle. But Kale knew the true work was just beginning. The war had ended, but the war for peace, for true stability, was something that would take time. The Kaldor's influence would still linger in the galaxy, and the other species watching from the sidelines had learned that even the most powerful invaders could be stopped. They now looked to Earth with a new respect and in some cases fear. But for Kale, this victory was not about showing power. It was about showing strength through unity. As Earth's warriors continued to work with the Yulani people to rebuild, something remarkable began to happen. The bond between the two species, once strangers on the opposite sides of a war, grew stronger. The Yulani had seen firsthand the heart of Earth's warriors. What they had come to offer was not just weapons and technology, but friendship, hope, and a commitment to protect those who could not protect themselves. One afternoon, Kyle stood in the center of the Yulani capital, watching as the people moved through the streets, working side by side with the soldiers of the Terran Legion. The battle had changed them, but so had the friendship they had forged. The Yulani had once thought their world would fall, but now they had seen the power of unity, of standing together in the face of adversity. They had seen the true strength of Earth's warriors, and they had become a part of it. In the distance, Kale could see the Yulani leader approaching him, a look of gratitude on his face. "You've not only saved us from destruction, but you've shown us the way forward," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "The Kaldor came to conquer, but what you've done is something more. You've given us the chance to rebuild and to thrive." Kyle nodded, his expression serious, but filled with pride. "This isn't just about one battle. It's about what comes after. It's about knowing that, together, we can face anything that comes our way." As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, Earth's warriors continued to work with the Yulani people, helping them rebuild their world. The Kaldor's forces had been driven out, but the true victory was not just in the battle. They had built something that would last. The spirit of humanity, embodied in Earth's warriors, had given the Yulani not just survival but hope for the future. And as General Kale looked out over the horizon, he knew that this was only the beginning. The Terran Legion had shown the galaxy that humanity would always rise to protect the innocent, and that, no matter the odds, they would walk through fire to ensure that peace could endure.